Hi, it's Leslie Meredith from Breakbulk Events and Media. I'm here in the studio in Rotterdam with our good friend, Peter Molloy. Drewry, welcome.
Cheers, thanks for having me.
So great to have you here. He has just finished a double session on fleet capacity. He gave his update and also moderated a panel. So we'd love to hear some. First of all, let's start with your update and some highlights that our audience would like to hear.
Okay, so of course, like the year we're having, we always start off with our GDP outlook, right? So we're always kind of taking how the global demand, global growth is happening, and we derive our demand from there. And of course, for the last 12, 18 months or so, it's been a section I'm rewriting all the time. So I always like to start with that I show what our current expectation is, but I compare it to what we published 12 months ago. So we're seeing a bit of a big shift. Of course, currently we are expecting this year to take a much lower amount of growth for GDP than, even though now it's announced that things are solved, hopefully.
Friday.
Yeah, it's all going to be sorted. So if it is, okay, fantastic. But still, there's a bit of damage already done. There's backlog in getting fuel prices down, production back up, that sort of thing. So we expect, people, the everyday folks always still feel a struggle for a while, which will impact growth, So we're still seeing less than originally expected growth for this year, but we still are anticipating for the rest of the 5 years, so we do a 5-year forecast, that it will recover. So now the growth level will recover, so growth will continue, which means we see that demand will continue to rise accordingly. So that's the main thing as we start with, and then of course I'll go into what is the current fleet outlook, what is the order book. So we are seeing two kind of different scenarios playing out. We have the general cargo fleet, which we see as everything below 55 tons, and they're going to have a lot of supply coming to the market, but it's all different ship types, right? But that's also, the general cargo fleet is twice the size of the project carrier fleet. So when we look at project carriers, we're seeing, say, fleet expansion and growth, and with general cargo, we are anticipating an increased number of demolitions, because otherwise, if there isn't those demolitions with the capacity coming online, we would be concerned that there would be too many ships in a few years on the general cargo side, not on the project cargo side. So there's a very kind of the fleet is splitting, basically.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be kind of our main highlights from it, and then of course we looked at the general forecast. So we have a few additional. We've added another amount of capacity to be added to the order book that's not yet there, but we are seeing that the order book is trailing off slightly towards the end of the forecast period, and as a result we've added these additional forecasted amounts to be added to the order book. But of course, when I like to emphasize when we analyze the fleet that we still consider that for the ease of analytics, we still consider that there's a lot of, you're able to put a lot of cargoes flow onto all different ship types, which is not the case. We allow for certain stowage factors to, because this is a lot of it on the project side is high volume, not dead weight, but we can only do that to a certain extent. So if we're working with a particular specification you need, you could find that the ship you need is not available or is already booked years out in advance.
Exactly.
So it's the capacity, even though we say that demand is growing slowly, in certain areas, trade lanes, or for ship types, it could already be maxed out. That's kind of the highlight of the story. So.
Okay, those are good highlights. So as far as building ships that will comply with fuel regulations, how is that impacting the fleet?
So that was an interesting one. We had 4 minutes to go in the panel, and I put that question out there. This is a small sector with a lot of small ships. Even our large project carriers could be considered small if you consider cape sizes or VLCCs, that sort of thing, right? So really the market will do its best is producing what it can produce now as the most efficient. Obviously it is it is in their interest, like any operator, to build the most efficient ship.
Of course.
Whether we're burning heavy fuel oil or unicorn juice in the future, we've no idea. Operators will strive to burn as little as possible. It's good commercial sense, right? So they are producing the best ones they can at the moment, but of course we have a fleet that has that operates for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
So this net zero is already going to happen with the ships that are being built today, and of course we're not building net zero vessels, right? So
what does that mean? What happened?
Yes, I'm excited to find out. Let's find out. There's a challenge there, but of course we have the added challenge that, unlike other sectors, we also don't know what the cargo is going to be. So the ships are developing in line with what they believe the cargo will develop, while also having the same headache of what fuel we're going to burn in the future. So the question is it going to be retrofits? Are we going to see ships demolished or scrapped at younger ages, which means that shortens your return period for a high cost vessel? There's a few things we're not sure about, and also will it just be a case of if you don't comply you have to pay, and will that just be something that happens in the industry?
And then that just gets put into the rates.
Filters out.
Right?
Yeah. If the ships aren't there, then we'll still need them to move these cargoes. We'll still need them to move to develop these your renewable energy sites. Oil and gas is also picking back up, so we'll still need them. So to turn around and say, we can say no to a ship, and it's the only ship available, that's going to be quite a difficult decision to make, I think. So
exactly.
But it only, which was quite interesting, I suppose, to kind of see how the year has changed, is, like I said, that was 4 minutes at the end of the presentation, end of the conversation. Where if we look back over previous years, that was a big part of the conversation.
Yes.
So it's still kind of it has moved into what ships will suit the new cargoes, supply of ships in general. That was it, but the environmental implication, not that it's not on everyone's mind, but it didn't dominate the conversation, I would have said.
That's interesting. All right, well, that is good information, and we appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.